This video is Plumber Insurance 101. I'm going to talk you through every coverage you need to be thinking about, starting with the basics and then progressing to the more advanced coverages that you need after you grow. Let's get into it. The first coverage you buy is general liability insurance. It's the first thing you look at when you start your own business, when you go out on your own. You realize you got a job and now you need to show somebody that you have general liability. The common number that everybody goes for is $1 million per occurrence with $2 million aggregate. Those are the normal numbers. Now, if you're getting a job with a general contractor or with some other type of business, they may also ask you for some specific contract language. They may want you to add them as an additional insured, which means you're going to pay for their lawyer if something goes wrong. They may want you to waive subrogation, which means your insurance company can't go back after their insurance company. And they may want you to make the language primary non-contributory, which means that your policy acts without their policy stepping in. Those three clauses aren't in every policy. You have to make sure that they are in there. A lot of good companies will bake them in, but depending on what type of work you do and where you're doing it, you may be working with a non-standard company that makes you buy these things a la carte. So that's general liability insurance. That's the first thing you have to buy. The second coverage you should be thinking about is tools coverage, because before you hire somebody, before you buy a truck, you probably have some tools that you take out to the job site. And nothing is more frustrating than having some tools stolen out of your truck and you realize you're out $5,000. So, what you need to understand is that you need a very specific policy that will cover your tools when they leave your office and go to a job site and everywhere you go. It's called inland marine. If you're asking why is it inland, it's because the first policy was ocean marine. And then when people started moving stuff inland, they started calling it inland marine. There you go. So if you have tools, you need to make sure that they are covered when they go on to job sites. When you're moving them around, you need to make sure that they are covered to value, and that if you're renting tools or if you're borrowing them, you need to think about that too. And if your employees are bringing tools onto the job site, you have to think about that as well. So tools, that's number two. Number three is commercial auto insurance. So when you're first getting started, you're probably using your personal truck that's in your name for business purposes. That can be fine. You just have to make sure it's squared away with your personal auto insurance company. However, at some point, if you set up an LLC and you're looking for that corporation to protect you, one of the things you're going to want is to move that truck over to your business so that if you get in a vehicle accident, they can't come back after you. I mean, let's pause here for a second. What is the point of setting up a corporation if that corporation doesn't protect you? And the only way that corporation can protect you is if all your assets are moved over to that corporation. Just an insurance broker's thought. Anyway, you buy a truck, you should really be looking for $1 million liability limits. I see a lot of policies with less, probably for cost saving reasons. But the thing is, one of the fastest ways you're going to have $1 million claim is going to be in your truck. It might be a gas explosion on the liability side, but it's probably going to be your truck. So you need auto liability insurance. If you want to cover the truck, you're going to need comprehensive and collision coverage. You may also want to think about rental reimbursement that would pay for another truck if that one goes into the shop after an accident, and towing. And lastly, you should also think about uninsured and underinsured motorists, because everyone thinks that they're a great driver, but everyone will concede that everyone else is a terrible driver. An uninsured and underinsured motorist is the coverage that protects you if somebody that is a terrible driver hits you and doesn't have enough insurance. So there you go. Auto insurance, number three. Number four, workers' compensation insurance, the bane of many plumbers' existence. All right, I know it's expensive, but here's the deal. As soon as you start paying somebody, you need to make sure workers' compensation insurance exists in the state of Maryland. That that includes even if the person is a contractor and you're paying them as a 1099. If they don't have their own workers' compensation insurance and they get hurt on your job site, you are responsible for them. You are responsible for them because the state doesn't want to be responsible for them. And yes, they've rigged the game against you. They want that injured person, if they are hurt on the job, to be covered by workers' compensation first. So, with that in mind, if you have a paid employee, whether it's a helper, office staff, or if you're subcontracting work, you have to make sure workers' compensation insurance exists somewhere. If you're subcontracting it, make sure that they have their own insurance. You're checking for proof and you have a contract in place to prove it. For you, the most common class codes are going to be the plumbing class code and office class code if somebody stays in the office and all they do is bookkeeping and administrative work. So there you go. Number 4, workers' compensation insurance. Number 5, umbrella liability coverage. An umbrella increases the maximum amount that can be paid out in a liability lawsuit. It usually sits on top of your general liability insurance, which is bodily injury and property damage you cause to others. And it sits on top of your auto insurance. So if you get in a bad vehicle accident, and a lot of times it sits on top of your employer's liability, which is part of your workers' compensation insurance. Now, one of the most common questions I get about umbrella insurance would be, do I need it? And then it would be, how much should I have? So let me walk you through the factors. You should be looking at umbrella liability insurance if you have high risk work, if you have a large fleet of vehicles, and if you've got large projects going on. And then, practically speaking, if you have a contract that requires it, you're going to have to buy the umbrella. Otherwise, you won't be able to get on the job site or you won't be able to get paid. So, there you go. That is number 5, umbrella liability insurance. Number 6, property insurance. Now, we already talked about tools. This is a little bit different because tools will cover your equipment anywhere, whether you take it to job sites, whether it's in storage. Property insurance refers to buildings that don't move and contents that stay in that building. So, for a lot of plumbers, they'll start by working out of their house, right? And you may have desks, chairs, nothing really heavy duty. But then you may move into some type of industrial strip. Now you got a little bit more. Maybe you have a showroom. Maybe you have more computer equipment. And then at some point, maybe you really level up and you own a building. But for most plumbers, their building and contents needs are relatively limited. Your biggest insurance needs tend to have more to do with your fleet and the work you do in your employees. But at any rate, commercial property insurance is number 6. Thank you so much for watching Plumbers Insurance 101. If you have questions about your program, my contact information is in the description. Please reach out to me. If you want to drop them in the comments, that's a great spot too. And if this video was helpful, please hit like and subscribe. It helps other people like you find the contact. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please go build something great. And if you're looking for more information, the next video is about advanced insurance coverages for plumbers. Stay tuned.